Welcome back to Finding Your Fitness. This is my vlog series about how I dropped 150 pounds, but it's also a place where I can share my thoughts and tips on fitness and wellness with you. Speaking from experience, a lot of people blame their weight problems on food and their eating habits. What if I told you that you could feel full before you finished an entire meal? Or what if I told you that that junk food you had last night could suddenly not taste good anymore? Well, your body can do this, naturally, without any pills or gimmicks. Let's get back to food. It's essential. We eat to stay alive and to fuel our bodies. Is that what you think about when you hear the word food? Or do you think about that decadent treat that you reward yourself with? Or perhaps socializing with family and friends? Well, that's perfectly normal. We're all around food from day one. In fact, you could say we're born into a life of eating. Before we can make our own choices about food, we're learning our eating habits from our family and friends. In my case, I can remember when I was growing up, my mother would put vegetables on the table at night, and my father would complain out loud. So naturally, none of his kids wanted to eat vegetables either. But we don't just learn what to eat, we also learn how much. I grew up in a big Italian family, and my grandfather and mother were always telling me, mangia, or to eat in Italian. To my family, food represented love and a feeling of safety. Of course, my mother wanted to provide her children with those feelings, and one of the ways she did it was with her food. I didn't really know how to apply the brakes when it came to eating, and at dinner I'd have 3 big plates full of food. I'd come home after school and have 3 or 4 corn dogs, or 2 or 3 packages of ramen at a time. But of course, when food means love and safety, why would I have wanted to limit that? Food became a part of my life and my emotions. I grew up eating, just like everybody else. In fact, if you asked anyone today, including myself, what their relationship status is with food, they'd tell you it's complicated. Of course, food is a lot more to all of us than just nutrition or fuel. That's just how we're brought up. So how did I make that change to start transitioning from thinking of food as love to thinking of food as fuel for my body? Well, if you'd asked me then, there was no way I was going to give up my favorite foods and start eating vegetables. Fortunately, I had made the choice just to be active. And even though I knew that the food I was eating was bad for me, it wasn't going to stop me from exercising, and it would still perform its job. It would be fuel for my body. After a few months and about 30 pounds worth of change, I decided that I wanted to start tracking what I was eating and see. And I was horrified. The amount of salt and fat and calories I was consuming was astronomical. You would think that seeing these numbers would have made me want to change my relationship with food, but it didn't. Every week I was still adding those foods to my diary, but I kept seeing the numbers on the scale go down. And in fact, I started to increase my activity level. I moved beyond just using the treadmill and doing basic exercise. I joined group classes like Zumba. One night after an intense class, I came home to sit down with my family for what they would call a good meal. Some fatty, sugary, yet delicious Chinese food. I sat down like usual and started shoveling food into my face. But halfway through the meal, I took a bite and felt it slide down to my stomach. I put down my fork. I was full. For the first time in my life, I listened to my body and made the active choice to stop eating. Now, I'm a scientist by training, so I thought I'd give you a bit of a nerd note. There's actually scientific evidence that suggests the body, in response to exercise, releases compounds that affect eating. In a study done on obese and normal body weight mice, the obese mice exposed to a program of exercise eventually started to resume a diet that resembled the diet of the normal weight mice. Now obviously that's the short of it, but from my experience, it certainly seemed like exercise and being active had forced a change in my eating. From there on out, I was able to control my portions, and the effect spread. I started craving healthier food, wanting to try nuts and vegetables, and the junk food just didn't taste good to me anymore. Now sure, you're saying that worked for you, that's great, but I don't believe what you're saying. And I know what you mean. You spent all of these years getting to love the food that you eat. Why would you decide to make that change? If you decide to become more active, your body is going to demand it. So let me know, what's your story? Have you experienced this? Maybe you've experienced something totally different. I'd love to hear about it. Leave your story in the comments, and as always, feel free to ask questions or request topics. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe.